Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. My salutations to Swami Vivekananda, who is best among the monks and who descended on this earth to redeem the afflictions of the humankind, and who is existence, awareness, and bliss absolute. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, today morning we had a wonderful celebrations of Swami Vivekananda's birthday. We are in that mood of Swami Vivekananda. Now, any of you have, if you have read the life of Swami Vivekananda, and especially when the utterances and the articles on Swami Vivekananda's life and personality, Swami Vivekananda is portrayed as depicted as the greatest one of the freedom fighter, or rather patriotic saint. And some people, they advocate that Swami Vivekananda was the socialist. He was the social reformer. And some other people, they say that, look, he was not of any particular philosophy or whatever. So like people give their own pictures or own views, own understandings about Swami Vivekananda. Completely or partially, they may be true, never mind. But with my limited understanding, deep study of Swami Vivekananda, the first and foremost which appears is Swami Vivekananda is the embodiment of the spirituality. Swami Vivekananda is the embodiment of spirituality means, what does it mean? He led he had the awakened life, God-centered life, or consciousness, we say, consciousness-centered life. And he experienced the consciousness, and his mind was always rushing towards merging himself in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That in the underlying of his life incidents, if you see, definitely you'll be able to understand. So probably if you can remember some of the life incidents which happened, which occurred in his life, then we can understand this. And the very beautiful point which I think Swami Sharadanandji, the apostle of Sri Ramakrishna, he makes a beautiful comment or a mention in the Great Master. In the life of previous incarnations are the prophets, like in the life of Rama or Krishna or the Jesus or in the Muhammad Paigambar, we don't see the spiritual struggles what they underwent. But whereas in Sri Ramakrishna's case, we can more or less we can see how he practiced a lot of spiritual practices, different spiritual practices. And in case of Swami Vivekananda, that is much more very palpable, that how he underwent different type of struggles. From his childhood till he left his mortal coil, there are a different change of moods, different change of understandings, and his mindset has been continuously changed. But there is a constant one connecting link, that is what God or consciousness or spirituality you can say. If you read Swami Vivekananda's life deeply, you can 3 or 4 parts you can make it. One is childhood days, and he had a lot of child pranks, we all know that. And his mother used to, feel disgust sometimes, and she said, "Oh Shiva, I asked you should born as a son, but by mistake you have sent one of the your attendant from Shivaloka. That's the reason all these child pranks." Swami Vivekananda was notorious child, never mind. During his childhood days, that's the one thing. And when he enters adolescent and young age, Whatever the youngsters they want for name, fame, power, position, that doesn't we see in his life. Rather, he was knowledge oriented, and he want to know what is the truth, what is the truth, what is the truth. And there, his will and his intellect was predominant in his life. He thought he's of great, a man of great will and is a great intellect because he was a voracious reader, of course. So that's what we see, second thing. And once he meets his master, Sri Ramakrishna, and slowly, his perception gets changed. There also between a conflict or a what to say struggle, which we see in the young Naren's life. And once he accept Mother Kali and the divinity and when he experienced the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or before accepting Kali and experiencing Nirvikalpa Samadhi, his mind started desiring for that spiritual experience of Atman or Brahman or whatever. Then afterwards, he wanted to just live in that conscious Brahmananda. But as Sri Ramakrishna said, he had to do a lot of his work, mission. There he felt I should do this, I should do that, I should spread Vedanta, and I should bring the message for the East and West, etc. There again we see a missionary person. But once he met or once he had the Kshira Bhavan incident in Jammu Kashmir, completely his mind changes, his personality changes, and he becomes just a small boy. And he starts thinking, Ami ki jani, shab maacha. I don't know anything, just everything is mother's will. So the four different moods we can see in the life of Swami Vivekananda are the broad spectrum. But one connecting link, one commonality in all these three, four aspects of Swami Vivekananda's life is what? Spirituality, or God-centered life, or conscious-centered life. So basically, he had a life of awakened. This is what in Kathopanishad we hear this. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varani Bodhata. That is the overall meaning or a translation of this Sanskrit Upanishadic statement Swamiji so beautifully he made. And he says, which is often quoted, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So physically we are awakened. That's the reason we are all here physically, but we have arose probably, but we are not, most of us, we are not awakened. Why? Because a body-centered life or materialistic-centered life we are leading, but not the conscious-centered life. So when I mean awakened life, so whose mind is ready to receive the spiritual instructions, whose mind is ready to assimilate and practice these spiritual instructions, and whose mind can be ready or is ready to experience that self. Of course, maybe we may be in the process, but one who is ready for all these things, he is known as, or the person who has got awakened life. That's what we see in the Buddha, who is awakened, enlightened, we say. In Siddhartha and Buddha, what is the difference? So in that Buddha, we see the awakened life. And during probably these stories, all of us we know, when Swami Vivekananda was small, few 7 or 8 years, we all try to play with the toys and different type of games and all. And Swami Vivekananda also had played few games, never mind. But at this just small age or young age of 7 or 8 years, he called his friends and said, we will have a meditation game. So at this small age itself, he was ready for meditation. Means you can very well imagine, every one of us, we can very well imagine what would have been his mindset. What had been his consciousness, or where his consciousness was lying, apart from keeping him as an apart that Nararushi or Shiva Samsha and is an avatara. Keeping all that aside, from a human approach, when we start thinking, definitely it mesmerizes all our minds. And we all know the story, the funny story, and very interesting that he and his friends all they went in the terrace. There was a room, and they all sat for meditation. And 2 or 3 or few minutes over, Naren lost his body consciousness. He was completely involved or completely engrossed in the meditation. And some of his friends were sitting because Naren asked, and 2 or 3 minutes after, slowly they're opening his eyes and they say each other and all. Then a black cobra enters the room. Very well, we can imagine what happens. Everyone started shouting, snake, snake, and everyone left in no time. But Naren was unperturbed. They called, they shouted. He didn't respond. Then the friends went and informed Bunishwari Devi and Vishwanath, their parents. They also came. They were also scared, but nothing could do. But anyhow, with God's grace, snake went away. And when they came and they shook, it took few moments for Naren to be aware of these external surroundings, and he slowly opened his eyes. And when Bhuneshwari Devi asked, "Why didn't you respond to our call or your friend's call?" He said, "I was unaware and I was enjoying the bliss." So he was enjoying the bliss. It is not the bliss which is with from concentration. Because when we are concentration, like for an example, a musician, with concentration, he practices music and he feels that in that particular ragam, he has got the mastery. So similarly, for a painter, for an example, his mind is engrossed and he did a beautiful paint. There we get the glimpses of this Brahmananda, probably. But here, this Ananda, whatever he got Swamiji as a young Naren, when he said that I was unaware of all these things, my mind soared high, and I was experiencing the bliss that is nothing but Brahmananda, or the spiritual bliss. And the same thing can be seen very clearly as a young Naren's life, how this Brahmananda or how this Atman or Brahman was manifested in his every walk of life, probably through fearlessness, compassion, mercy, and God searching. Once he had been to a particular Harikatha or Gita like I say in Bengal, which is very famous. He had been there, even he was hearing the story of Ramayana. And while he was hearing the story of Ramayana, the person who was narrating the incidents, different incidents of Ramayana, then he praised about Hanuman and his devotion to Rama. So he also felt very happy and he got inspired. Young Naren, he got inspired that I would like to see Hanuman. Then he listened everything. Then once everyone they were leaving to house, young Naren went and approached the person who was narrating the Ramayana. Sir, I would like to see Hanuman. Kindly tell me, where can I see Hanuman? And that person was in really dilemma now, where to tell, how to tell. And there's a small boy also. Then he thought, oh, because you see Hanuman, he is fond of bananas, he will be in the banana plantation. So young boy Naren heard this. He came back, but he never kept quiet. And he thought, okay, I will go and I will see Hanuman. And just silently he went to nearby banana plantation and he was waiting for maybe half an hour, 1 hour, or 2 or 3 hours. He waited, he waited, he waited. Hanuman didn't come back, didn't see, and he was morose and he came back to house and he started complaining to his mother. So this one incident, most of us who have read the life of Swami Vivekananda, we know that. But here you see, at the small age, he was ready to search the God. He was ready to search and experience the God. That's what we can see in all these people's life. The other one more thing is compassion. I mean, the any beggar in those days, beggars used to come and they used to ask for some help and all. So whatever is available, because they were from aristocratic family and all the costly things is there, he never used to make any discrimination whether it is a costly thing, whether it is a good or not, whether can we give it or not. Whatever is just it was available for him near his hand, used to give away. So many times they used to have the problem, and one fine day, one beggar came and he started asking. He was begging in front of his house, and mother first and foremost he took the young Naren and he in the first floor she locked him and she wanted to give something, or she went to into household chores. But this is possible with few of us. Probably sometimes we might keep quiet or whatever, but still even at that given point of time this young Naren might didn't keep quiet. He started thinking, how can I help him, how can I help him, how can I help him? Then he opened the window and he saw that in front of uh, below the person is standing there. Then he searches in the room. There one costly Banaras sari was there, his mother's Banaras sari. He took the Banaras sari from the window, he threw to the beggar and said, you take and go. Finally people came to know. Then their elders, they had to go and plead the beggar and they gave some compensation and they bought that costliest Banaras sari back. So when we see all these things, it is a compassion, just not merely brotherly feeling. Rather, it is feeling that because that Ishavasya Sarvam, whatever we see in a Ishavasya Upanishad, cover everything with the God, cover everything with the self. Ishavasya Sarvam, Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat. Whatever exists in the world, whether it's small thing or big thing, whether non-living thing or living thing, you cover everything with that Lord or consciousness. Whatever we hear in Ishavasya Upanishad, that we can see very clearly in the life of Swami Vivekananda as a young Naren. So this compassion was not just a humanistic compassion, it was a spiritual compassion, or it was more of spiritual service. Because that self exists in every being, so I have to serve him. By serving him, that is the real worship, which I think probably most of us we know. The beautiful lecture he gave in his Rameshwaram after coming from the West. What is the real worship? And when he enters young age, in those days he was in those days most of the youngsters, they wanted to do their graduation and they want to earn good money, and they want to, probably if possible, they may come to London or somewhere, and basically settle in the life and enjoy the life and have a merry marriage and etc. But he was an voracious reader, and his mind was started thinking, what is truth, what is real in the life? So people say that God and spirit, spirituality is self, etc., etc. So what is reality? What is God, etc.? His mind started thinking in this angle. For example, John Stuart Mill's three essays are there on religion, basically. So when he read that, his mind was terribly disturbed, because his whole idea, because from his young child age, he had heard Ramayana, Mahabharata stories from his mother and all. He had his own devotion, had his own view of God and all. But when he started reading the Western philosophers' philosophy or their philosophical essays, philosophical work, there was a great turmoil in his mind. And for example, even Hume's, I think, doctrine of skepticism, when he read, he also, again, his mind got uh, tousled between what is real and what is unreal. Whatever he had heard till now from his mother, from Ramayana, Mahabharata, and etc., and now whatever he's reading from the Western philosopher's view, it was tossing between the two things, and his mind was confused. His mind was searching for the truth. And interestingly, in his life, when you see Shelley's when he read the hymn of the spirit of intellectual beauty, it gave some solace. And he had was a Schopenhauer he read, and Hamilton's views about truth when he read. It gave some solace for him, but it was not real. Then in those days, what are the notable religious leaders from Brahma Samaj and from other societies? He approached them individually, and he started asking, "Sir, have you seen God?" They all avoided the question by different answers. Finally, he came to Sri Ramakrishna. And the very interesting incident is, before coming to Sri Ramakrishna, twice or thrice there was a marriage proposal for him, because in those days child marriage system was very prevalent. So his father and mother also wanted to get married, but every time he never used to accept. But some and very interestingly, every time when they brought seriously the marriage proposal, and they had thought that this time we will see that Naren will marry, there was some problem in the house. Someone died or some problem came, etc., etc. That's how the marriage used to go further. So three times very vehemently he protested, I will not marry, I will not marry, I will not marry. Then his own family friend, Dr. Ramchandra Datta, he said, Naren, why don't you marry? Naren said, I'm not interested. I think it is not my cup of tea, and it is for my spiritual life, etc. When he had said, then Dr. Ramchandra Datta said, if you want to really take the spiritual life, then why do you waste your time here and there? Come to Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, then you will get a right guidance. By the time already Ramchandra Datta used to go to Dakshineshwar, and he had got introduced to Sri Ramakrishna. Then Ramchandra Datta introduced young Naren once, already had seen once, but he brought young Naren to Sri Ramakrishna. And again, there's an interesting thing which all of us we know. Immediately he asked straight question, Sir, have you seen God? Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, I have seen God. But other 2-3 points which Sri Ramakrishna told, probably sometimes we may unnotice it. Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, I have seen God. But the difference is, I have seen the God much more clearly than I am seeing you. So that means God can be seen, God can be experienced. This has been told beautifully by Sri Ramakrishna. So it is not mere an hypothetical argument, and it is not an hypothetical truth, and it can be experienced. That's what Sri Ramakrishna gave a straight answer to Swami Vivekananda or young Naren. Yes, I have seen him, but much more clearly. And the other is, Sri Ramakrishna said, if you want to see God, I can help you. I think probably this is where Swami Vivekananda explained Sri Ramakrishna as Yoga Sahai. In Khandana Bhavabandhana, if you see Yoga Sahai. Yoga Sahai can be interpreted in two ways. One is whoever wants to take the path of spirituality, their yoga means any yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, or Japa Yoga, whichever yoga you can say. So Sri Ramakrishna is there to help us to progress in our spiritual life. That is the one meaning of Yoga Sahai. The other Yoga Sahai is by taking the help of Yoga Maya, Sri Ramakrishna descended on this earth to do his Leela Karya, to do his, what do you say, incarnational activities, we can say. And the third is, he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, but people shed jug of tears for woman and gold, but who wants God? So very few people wants God, wish God, and but if you really try, definitely we can see God, we can experience God. This positive assurance, Swami Vivekananda got by his master, Sri Ramakrishna. Again, he didn't keep quiet. He tested his master, and not only tested the master, but whatever his master gave instructions, to the extent possible, completely he followed, he practiced. As a result, just around 21 or 22 years, Swami Vivekananda, as a young Naren, he experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi in Kashipur, all of us we know. Just imagine, at the age of 21 or 22 years, young Naren experienced the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. For example, I mean, many people, I don't know, they don't think sometimes. When Swami Vivekananda said, sisters and brothers of America, we all know that 6 or 7,000 people were there. They got up and they clapped for 3 minutes. We all know that. And as per the available records, it is not that Swami Vivekananda was the first person who addressed the audience in this way, like sisters and brothers of America. Already 2 or 3 people had done. But then there was no clapping in such a way. But when Swami Vivekananda addressed sisters and brothers of America, then why there was such a clapping and etc. We have to think all these things. Why? Because when Swami Vivekananda said, or when Swami Vivekananda addressed the audience as sisters and brothers of America, it was not a lip service, or it didn't come from his mind, it came from his heart, based on the experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. By the time he had a few experiences of this Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So when he was seeing the people and when he was addressing them as the sisters and brothers of America, he felt them, they're really his own sisters and brothers. So it was based on the experience, it was not based on the intellect. That's where Swami Vivekananda, people responded to Swami Vivekananda's call. And the same thing we can see, for an example, ethics, morality, we all speak. Young Naren, once in his grandmother's house, he was there alone, evening, and he was in the first floor and he was just reading he was preparing for his university exams probably. In those days, we all know that child marriage and widows were common, all these things. A widow, she's a young girl, unfortunately, 22, 23 years, and she had lost her husband. And before understanding the marriage and before enjoying the life, by the time already she had lost her husband, unfortunately. But because of because of her age and etc., her mind was, what do you say, craving for that body enjoyment or physical enjoyments. So young Naren, he was very handsome, we all know, handsome looking, and he was a well-built personality. This Naren is sitting in the first floor and he's studying. So probably this young lady had observed some young Naren. So that day, one particular day when no one is there, it was evening or slowly night is approaching, slowly, she approached to Naren's room from the terrace. Naren was unaware of all these things. He was just reading. After some time, suddenly when he raises his head, he sees very nearby, there is a young lady. And imagine, he's also a young chap. and there's a young lady, and by her body movements or by her physical actions, whatever body actions, he could sense very clearly, young Naren could sense very clearly why she has come or why she's trying to approach me. Immediately young Naren, he got up and he said, look, whatever you're doing, it is not right. Please give your mind to the God, you will feel blessed, you will be blessed, and this is not right, said. Immediately he left the place. Means even at that, every time, like jagrata jagrata we say, awakened intellect and awakened consciousness we say. And even this young Naren, at that given point of time, he was very sincere, ethical and moral, and he said no, and he advised her not to do that, and also he left the place. This is what we can see in his life. And after his father's passing away, he had to undergo a lot of challenges, lot of problems, adverse circumstances, we all know that. One fine day, for 2 or 3 days, he didn't had a food, and that day it was raining. And from early morning itself, he started in search of job, and probably he quite, walked. And that he was feeling very tired. So much physically tired means he's not able to even keep few steps. And rain started, which added probably some more tiredness for him. Then he went nearby tree and he sat there because he was so much tired. He wanted to have a little relax or nap, and he sat there. And in no time, probably he might have a small nap also. But he had a beautiful experience. His mind was dejected that time, no doubt, and his mind was negative at that time, no doubt. Even at that juncture, even at that point, he started experiencing that layer after layer, layer after layer is getting uncovered. Just like if you start peeling the skin of onion, layer by layer, we can peel. So similarly, he had that experience of layer by layer is getting uncovered. And finally, he sees there is a power, there is a divinity or consciousness or Atman or self or whatever name you can call. So he had that experience. By that, he felt so much energy and positivity and etc. Simply he got up and he started walking. The same Swami Vivekananda in the West, in one of his lectures, he says, awaken this manifest or awaken this consciousness, the power will come, glory will come, and etc. We have heard these sentences. So again, it is not mere teaching, rather it was of his own experience. And he says, teach this Vedanta, teach this divinity. Why? A cobbler can be the best cobbler, a fisherman can become the best fisherman, etc. We all hear by Swami Vivekananda's teachings. In his own life, we can see when he was dejected, when he had a problem, when he had challenges, adverse circumstances, he had the experience of the divinity. Before Nirvikalpa Samadhi experienced this, I'm telling. So when he had that, he got up with full of energy and positivity, and he started taking care of his work. So when we expose ourselves, when we bring God, when we bring self means Atman or Brahman, more and more in our life, what happens? External situations may not change, external people may not change, but I will be changing, and my understanding and accepting things will change. That's what we can see in Swami Vivekananda's life. And one more thing, which probably is very, very great example, is how Swami Vivekananda's life was there, young Naren's character was. Sri Ramakrishna's probably he was in Kashipur few days. He said once he called Naren privately and he said, Naren, I have got 8 occult powers, Ashtasiddhis. People having one or two, they become famous and people start worshipping them as a god. Like anima means you can become very microscopic. Like whoever read Ramayana, you will be, all these stories will be connected with Rama. One can become very microscopic, very small you can become. That is anima. And Mahima means you can become very huge, very big. For example, in the case of Vamana, we hear that he became so big in just in 1 feet, he could cover the entire earth, we say. So that is called Mahima. Then Laghima means one can become very light and like paper and you can just travel in the air. Then Vashikarma, Aprakpatutva, like this Ashtasiddhis, 8 occult powers are there. Now, in Sri Ramakrishna's case, because of sincere spiritual practice and advance in spiritual practice, he had got all these 8 occult powers. In very few times, Sri Ramakrishna has used these powers, we can say. And now Sri Ramakrishna he called young Naren and he's saying, look, I've got these 8 occult powers. I want to give you. Will you mind to take this? Now imagine if we ourselves put in his place, what will happen? Oh, please gives. I'm thankful to you. Because Ashtasiddhis I'm getting without any difficulty or without any try or whatever. Most of, I think definitely, whoever knows about Ashtasiddhis, definitely, we will not say no. But this young Narayan, instantly, without thinking even for a moment, he simply asked a question: Sir, is it going to help me for spiritual life or for God realization or self realization? Sri Ramakrishna said, No, rather it may divert it. Then he said, No, then I don't want it. Swami Vivekananda says elsewhere, like, whatever it makes you physically, mentally weak, reject it as a poison. So same thing we can see in his own life. He rejected all Ashtasiddhis, 8 occult powers. I don't want. If it is not helping my spiritual life, it is not helping towards reaching the God or towards experiencing the self, then I don't want. Why is Sri Ramakrishna probably selected him alone as his chosen disciple? Or how he was embodiment of spirituality, how he was able to shake the world with the help of, with this, what do you say, Brahma Teja, we say. Brahma Virya, Akshatra Virya and Brahma Teja. Yes, Brahma Teja, well, that spirituality, whatever we see, because of this character and because of his sincerity, truthfulness, and steadfastness, or whatever. And I think one more interesting thing, probably all of us, we know this story also. When he had a difficulties, only one time I think he went and pleaded Sri Ramakrishna, you should ask something. You should do something because I am asking that to what? My family, let them have a square meal. That's a lot more than that. I'm not asking anything riches or anything. Sri Ramakrishna said, what? I know. I have asked, on your behalf, I have asked already Mother Kali. But Mother Kali saying that you don't accept her, she's annoyed about you. That's why she's not listening to me. Swami Vivekananda said, no, no, you go and, because she listened to your prayers, you go and plead for her. He says, no, I've done already, but she's not ready to listen to, in your case. Then young Naren asked, so what shall we do? She said, you go and ask. And young Naren asked, see, I don't, because I'm a member of Brahma Samaj, they are not supposed to, I mean, bend their heads in front of murtis or the idols. That was the oath taken by young Naren. So he said, till now I didn't believe in her. Even when I came Dakshineshwar, I used to meet you, but I never went to Kali temple. So will she accept my prayers? She never minds. Why don't you try? Definitely. And you see, when young Naren went and he asked what? And he went and he was supposed to ask for at least square meals and probably a house for his mother and his sisters and brothers to stay. And basically, a simple life should be there for all that arrangements has to be done. He was supposed to ask that in front of Mother Kali. That's the one point. Second is, Sri Ramakrishna did 4 years of intense sadhana and he saw the mother, that we can understand. Now, he had probably had done some sadhana as a young Naren, but the extent, whatever Sri Ramakrishna has done, we don't see that in young Narens that he has done that sadhana. So, obviously, logically, we don't expect that he will be able to see or he will be able to have the vision of Mother Kali. But interestingly, that day, when he went and he approached Mother Kali's sanctum and sanctorium, the Garbha Mandir, and he was able to see Mother Kali. And he forgot everything and he asked only for Gnana, Bhakti, Viveka, Vairagya. Devotion, knowledge, renunciation, or whatnot. Then, after going, Sri Ramakrishna asked, then Swami Vivekananda says, oh, my dear, I forgot. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, what is this? You can't remember this much? Go. Second time he went. Third time when he went, he remembered, but he couldn't ask. He says it is a foolish thing, and he came back. Means these people's life or these people's mindset is such a high, they can't ask anything for materialistic progress or materialistic progression. So this is the mindset of young Naren. Then what to speak of as a Swami Vivekananda. I think there's a very interesting story also. One is that I think Swami Akhandanji, I think if I'm not wrong, he tells, in his reminiscences, once few of the disciples as an itinerant monk, they had been to some place and they were all sitting. Imagine in India, in Belur Math and all, we had this great experience. In summer, there'll be lot of humidity and all, will be having a difficulty sweating, profuse sweatings and all. And very thin cloth, generally we try to cover ourselves. And sitting in the, especially in the temple, and it will be at the morning, even 4 o'clock or 4:30, 4:30, we'll be trying to just concentrate. Then there'll be penicillin injection. Means a mosquito will come and bite, immediately will fail, and but immediately as a reflex action we beat it. And many times they'll be making musical sounds, and most of the times we cannot concentrate or whatnot. If one two mosquitoes enough to disturb our sleeps, to disturb our meditation and whatnot. And Swami Vivekananda and some of his brother disciples, monastic disciples, they were all sitting in one open place for meditation. Not one or two, there were a few mosquitoes or houseflies. Then people, they were trying to sit for some time, they are able to, because they had their own concentrations, they were able to, but it was not for long time they were unable to. But Swami Vivekananda, just he sat for meditation. In no time, he had completely engrossed in the meditation. And it's so much so that he was unaware of it. Probably half an hour, 1 hour, 2 or 3 hours is over. And they say when he got up, we could see a thick carpet of a thick shawl of mosquitoes, just it came out from his body, but he was unaware of it. This shows his concentration. This shows that he was a Dhyanist, as Sri Ramakrishna puts it. His mind was always, he wanted or he wished to do meditation. This is seen very clearly with his one of his monastic disciple, that is in Swami Virajanji's case. Swami Virajanji was a young monk then. Swami Vivekananda, they had both of them, they had a hot debate. Swami Virajanji said, I'm not interested in the service activity, seva karya, which you are telling. So I'm not interested in all these things. Then Swami Vivekananda said, okay, then in what you are interested? Swami Virajanji says, I'm interested in meditation. I want to sit for meditation for long hours, 8 to 10, 12 hours or whatever. And of course, like Mother, as available records, after Mother, Holy Mother, Virajanji is the person who used to do every day 100,000 japa. There's 1 lakh japa every day. So we know that history also. Then is some other, probably direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna or some others and all, they'll say, no, Swamiji has said that we should do karma yoga, we should do all these service activities, all these things. Then he said, whoever has told, I don't mind, but I am interested in meditation. I want to do more and more meditation. So Swami Vivekananda also, he debated with him what is the necessity of work and service, or etc., etc. But afterwards, Swami Vivekananda said, okay, whatever you wish, you can do, like that, he said. And Virjanji left the place. And afterwards, Swamiji made a beautiful statement, I am very happy to hear Swami Virjanji's statement. Why? Because this is what I needed. I want people to sit in meditation for long hours, but people cannot do that. That's where I gave this service or service activities or seva karya. If you can sit and do meditation for long hours, definitely I'll be most happy. I'll be the most happiest person. So Swami Vivekananda's mind was always rushing towards that meditation. We can see very clearly in his life. And one more interesting point which comes to me, that how spiritual personality, how they work at different situations. As we all know, in Khetri Maharaja said, when he heard about Swami Vivekananda, when he had a conversation and etc., he had the experience of Swami Vivekananda's wisdom. First, he's the first person, I think, where he mentioned that, why don't you go to Chicago's Parliament of Religions and represent Hinduism? He said, yeah, I'm also interested, if God willing, let it happen. When he came to Mysore Maharaj also said, and he was also ready to sponsor his entire trip. But Swami Vivekananda said, let me see. And in Chennai, some of the young disciples got inspired by Swami Vivekananda's life and teachings and all. They went to door to door. In those days, 800,000 rupees or few hundreds they had collected. Alsing Perumal and others. Then when they came and they gave to Swami Vivekananda said, look, I would like to go to Chicago's Parliament of Religions, never mind, but I am not sure whether it is my will or my interest or whether it is a God's will. So I'm not yet clear. So I've written a letter to Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi. So I've not heard anything. So please give back this money, or rather give this money for the poor people. Then of course they didn't have any other way. Then they distributed the money for the poor people. Then after some time, after a few days or whatever, in no time, he had a vision where Sri Ramakrishna is holding his hand and is both of them are walking on the sea, in the ocean. And in no time, he also received the Holy Mother's letter saying that, yes, my dear, please go for the West and you for the to participate in Chicago's Parliament of Religions. When he had that vision of Sri Ramakrishna's that he leading him. And when he got the letter of Holy Mother, then only really he decided that I will go to Chicago's parliament. I mean, I will go to Chicago to participate in the Parliament of Religions and represent Hinduism or whatnot. So here he was a man of character, he was a man of caliber, intellectual caliber, you can say, and he had an Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he had powers and all, no doubt. But still, his individual ego was tuned with, or his individual ego was merged with the cosmic ego or with the God, we can say that. So there was no I as an instrument, he was working. When we are able to work like this, then definitely we get a lot of power. So completely God dependent life or completely self-surrendered life, that's what we can see in Swami Vivekananda's life or personality. Externally, he looks very strong, kingly, probably personality, of course, and he tells about willpower and all these things, fine. But if you see internally Swami Vivekananda's life and personality, he had completely, what you say, Sharanagata, we say self-surrender to the cosmic or to his master or to Sri Ramakrishna. Very clearly we can see. Even when he was undergoing a lot of problems, physical, because financial glitches he had, then also one fine day, he had a mantra diksha, spiritual initiation from Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna initiated Swami Vivekananda into Rama mantra. And that whole day, whole night, he was just repeating the Lord's name, his chosen deity's name, and he was doing bhajans and probably dancing and moving around. By seeing that Swami Vivekananda, young narrates, Sri Ramakrishna was also very happy. So that when we are in problem, when we come to ashram, when we listen some things and we get initiation, we all feel blessed, we all feel happy. Probably God will support us, God will take care of us. We all think that. But in his case, you see, his mind was soaked in that God consciousness, and he was experiencing that Brahmananda at every given point of time. That's the reason we can say very clearly, like Sister Devamata tells her experience when she was hearing the lectures of Swami Vivekananda in the West. When Swami Vivekananda used to talk or used to give lectures on Vedanta, slowly, we used to forget where we are sitting. And we used to forget the people who are in and around us. And there only we are hearing just a voice, a beautiful voice. Like I'm a voice without form, Swamiji says, we have heard that. So Sister Devamata says that we were used to hear only that voice, and we used to forget about this space and time and surroundings and whatever. In Mandukya and other places, we all see what is this experience of the self means. You go beyond the duality, which is time and space causation. So Sister Devamata tells very clearly that when we heard Swami Vivekananda's talks, we used to experience that self or consciousness or whatever, and we used to transcend ourselves from this time and space causation. And one more very interesting story is probably some of you might know this. One lady, I am not able to recall her name. She served Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda stayed in their house for a few days, and he had used that hookah for what do you say, smoking, and he had left on the table itself, table or near mirror or wherever, whatever. And this lady, she had a very migraine problem, very severe migraine problem. When migraine problem she gets, she had to cry and she had to suffer a lot. One day she's suffering from migraine problem, so she's keeping her head below on that small table, and she's suffering. So that whatever that windpipe which was used by Swamiji for smoking, it started speaking. Oh my dear, are you suffering from that migraine? Are you suffering or whatever? So she heard that voice from that windpipe which Swamiji had used, and she took aback and she got up and she saw. I mean, Swami Vivekananda is not there, but then what is the voice? Then she could understand that is from that windpipe or whatever. And for her astonishment, that day the migraine problem left, and afterwards in her life she never got back that migraine problem. And very interesting, I think in one of the lecture also I told this had my personal experience. Had been to Ajmer and K3 and here so many places of Rajasthan. So there, in probably in Alwar, I think Alwar somewhere, where I had been, there I had heard that in particular house Swamiji stayed. So then I asked the devotee, "Can you take me there?" Then the devotee said, "Okay," and we took, and there is a small room where Swamiji stayed and slept, and all that has been still preserved nicely. So we went and we prayed and meditated. And the house owner, we started talking like your father or grandfather, who saw Swami Vivekananda and all. Then he started explaining, and he showed a letter also, Swamiji's letter, and he said, "My grandfather met Swami Vivekananda and all." Then I asked, "Have you got any incidents or any incidents probably you have heard from your father or grandfather about Swami Vivekananda during his stay?" Then while telling that, apart from this letter, we had a one quote of Swami Vivekananda, which he had, I mean, probably once or twice he had wore that quote, and he had given the quote to my grandfather as a because as a token of love or whatever, because of my grandfather's hospitality serving. Then I was very, I mean, astonished and happy to listen to this. And I said, "Can you show me the quote?" He said, "It is not there." Then I was feeling bad. Then I asked, "What happened to that quote?" "It is over." Quote means you have lost it, fine. You have given to someone, fine, and used, and it has been turned off. Often. It is over. I mean, I didn't understand the logic. Then I said, "What do you mean by that over?" "No, my grandfather, because he was pulling the threads from there, that's why it is over." Then I said, "See, please, can you explain me? But it looks very funny and I'm not able to understand." And he said, "Look, once my grandfather had some health issue or some, for some reason or for whatever, somehow he pulled one thread and he ate it. And he had some health issues or headache or whatever. It got cured. That's how then he got that thing. Then someone came with the problem of family people or neighbors, whoever with some physical ailments, and used to remove one thread from the coat and say, 'Look, this one way on the coat thread, you eat it, this will go away.' And astonishingly, it used to go away, it seems. So that became slowly famous in the nearby village, in that place in my hometown. So slowly, people started coming that, 'Look, I have got this problem, I have got that problem.' My grandpa removing one thread from the coat, and he started giving, and that's how the whole coat got finished. I mean, it was very interesting, and it looks like funny also, but you see the power of these people. Just he wore one coat, and from that coat thread, someone ate or someone consumed or whatever, their physical ailments or their mental problems or whatever, it went away. So this is the power of Swami Vivekananda. I think probably that's the reason Swami Vivekananda has said that what is one fine day he was coming from the old shrine. Whoever has seen Belur Mat will be understanding the old shrine. He was coming down in the stairs and he says, "What Swami Vivekananda has done, only one more Vivekananda can understand who am I or whatever." So these things we can very clearly understand. They came and they raised the whole consciousness. One is not only individual, the consciousness of the society, the consciousness of the humankind, the whole thinking has been changed. For an example, we can see in the Ganges. In the Ganges, if you see, many times it has changed its directions. So similarly, Sri Ramakrishna's life, Swami Vivekananda's life, or maybe Buddha's life, or Jesus Christ's life, when we read their lives seriously, and human thought, shaping of human thoughts and all, you see, when these incarnations and prophets, when they come and go, the whole humankind thinking pattern, it changes. The same thing we can see after the advent of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, the whole thinking pattern of India and the world also at large has been changed. Simple one example I will give, and I'll finish it probably. The spirituality and service, so harmoniously blending whatever we see in the mission today, in almost of the educational or spiritual organization, whatever we are seeing now, more or less, especially from the Asian point of view, if you see, that was done little a bit from Buddha's disciples, but so palpatably today we are seeing this all the service activities, charitable activities from the point of spiritual practice. That is after the advent of Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna. In the olden monasteries, if you see, they used to read, meditate, and they used to give sermons and lectures. That's all. But service activity included, involved, and as a part of spiritual practice, and by that also one can reach God or whatever. That is one of the biggest contribution of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, and today everyone is following. I mean, apart from any religion. And from religion means do's and don'ts. I'm saying from ritualistic thing, slowly everyone is revolving towards spirituality, which is very palpatably we can see in the society or in the global scenario. That also we can say very clearly after the advent of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda. Further, Swami Vivekananda himself says that Sri Ramakrishna sadhana, and he poured all that power into that Brahma Kundalini, and he has awakened the Brahma Kundalini of the Jagat, of the universe. That's where all the spiritual people are coming, and spiritual, what do you say, advancement or spiritual awakening we can see in the people. Swami Vivekananda says sometimes these utterances can be mystical or we cannot understand from the common point of view. Probably when we meditate more and more, when we think and when we soak our mind with this type of thoughts, we'll be able to understand. So on this auspicious day, may Swami Vivekananda bless all of us to manifest this divinity more and more and to experience the divinity more and more. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.